throwaway account because my wife knows my main. I have been married to my wife for almost 8 years. Together for 10. We've had what I thought was a pretty solid marriage. Normal ups and downs, some arguments here and there, but overall I always felt like we were a team. I work long hours in IT, she's in marketing. We don't have kids, though we talked about it off and on. Looking back now, I realized the little cracks started showing about a year ago. She got really into going out with her girls on weekends. At first I thought, cool, she's socializing, no big deal. But then it was every weekend. Then weeknights. Then the phone was suddenly glued to her hand all the time, face down whenever I walked into the room. She started making these snide comments about how, at least her friends listen to her, or how, I don't make enough effort. I brushed it off because I thought maybe I was just stressed and being sensitive. But deep down something felt off. The first real gut punch came when she started guarding her phone like it was the nuclear codes. She used to leave it on the counter, sometimes even ask me to check her messages when she was driving. Suddenly, it never left her hand. Even when she showered, it came into the bathroom with her. I remember one night we were watching Netflix on the couch. Her phone buzzed, she grabbed it so fast it was like she'd been electrocuted. I laughed and asked, "Who's messaging you, the president?" She gave me this deadpan look and said, "It's just work. You wouldn't understand." That "you wouldn't understand" stuck with me. It was said in this sharp, dismissive tone like I was some idiot child. My wife used to be sweet, playful, even a little goofy. Now she was short-tempered, snapping at me over dumb stuff like leaving a glass in the sink. I tried to tell myself it was stress from work. Maybe hormones. Maybe she was just bored with routine. But in my gut, I already knew I was losing her. The actual discovery started small. One random Tuesday night, she came home late, claiming she'd been working late at the office. Except when she dropped her bag by the door, her hair smelled like cigarette smoke. Nobody in her office smokes. I know because I've been to their happy hours. I asked her about it and she rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, you're paranoid. We were out on the patio after work, some of the girls smoke. Stop acting like my dad." The way she snapped at me was so defensive, I almost let it go just to avoid another fight. But something about the whole thing didn't sit right. So, the next day while she was showering, I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked her phone. Her text thread with Samantha was weird. Lots of random empty messages like LOL and okay, but the timestamps didn't add up with when she'd been out. Then I noticed a contact saved under the name Jake, work. My stomach dropped. When I opened the chat, my heart started racing. Flirty messages. Inside jokes I'd never heard. And then the one that punched me in the chest. "Last night was amazing. Can't wait to see you again." I swear my hands went cold. My ears were ringing. And just like that, I knew. I didn't blow up right away. Honestly, I froze. I put her phone back exactly where she'd left it and tried to act normal. But that night I couldn't sleep. My brain kept replaying that one line, "Last night was amazing." The next morning over breakfast, I tried to test the waters. I asked her casually, "So, how's Jake from work? You've mentioned him a couple times." She stopped mid-bite, fork in the air, eyes narrowing. "Why are you bringing him up? He's just a coworker. Don't start with your jealous crap." I told her I wasn't jealous, just curious. She huffed, pushed her plate away and said, "You know what your problem is? You don't trust me. That's why I don't talk to you about things anymore." That line hit like a sucker punch. She flipped it on me so fast I almost doubted what I'd read the night before. I actually caught myself thinking maybe I'm overreacting? Maybe they're just friends? But deep down I knew she was lying. I could see it in the way she wouldn't meet my eyes. The way her voice went sharp like she was cornered. It was the first time I realized she was capable of looking me dead in the face and feeding me pure bullshit. And it wouldn't be the last. A week later I got the proof that ripped away any doubts. She said she was going out for a girls' night. Same routine. Dress up, perfume, that fake cheerful voice she'd use when she was lying. I played it cool, kissed her goodbye and waited until she left. About an hour later, I realized she'd forgotten her tablet on the kitchen counter. Normally I wouldn't touch it, but something told me to look. Sure enough, it was synced with her messages. And there it was. A photo. She had sent a picture to Jake. Not just a flirty selfie, she was in our bed. Our sheets. The caption, "Wish you were here." My whole body went cold. I stared at the screen hoping I was misreading it, but nope. It was exactly what it looked like. She was using our house, our bedroom, to flirt with this guy while pretending to be out with her friends. Then another message popped up while I was holding the tablet. "Can't wait to taste you again." That was it. No more doubt. No more excuses. No more, "maybe I'm paranoid." She was cheating. I remember sinking onto the couch, tablet still in my hands, shaking. My chest hurt like someone had reached in and ripped something out. It wasn't just betrayal, it was humiliation. She was making a fool of me right under my nose. I didn't even wait until the next day. I sat there with the tablet in my lap, heart pounding, until I heard her heels clicking in the driveway around midnight. When she walked in, all smiles and fake laughter, I just held up the tablet. Her face dropped. Then just as fast she put on this indignant act. "Why are you snooping through my stuff? That's private." I almost laughed. "Private? You're in our bed, sending half-naked selfies to another guy. That's not private, that's betrayal." She rolled her eyes, actually rolled her eyes, and said, "Oh my God, it's not what you think. Jake and I are just friends. We flirt sometimes, big deal. It's harmless." Harmless. She used the word harmless, while I was staring at text that could make a porn director blush. I snapped. I yelled louder than I ever have in my life. "Do you think I'm stupid?" That's when she switched tactics. Suddenly she was crying, swearing up and down that they'd only kissed once, that it didn't mean anything, that she wasn't happy because I wasn't giving her enough attention. It was a circus of excuses. Lie after lie, each one contradicting the last. First it was just flirting, then it was just kissing, then it was only once, then, it's your fault for not being there for me. I realized in that moment I wasn't talking to my wife anymore. I was talking to a stranger who would say anything to avoid being the villain. That night was chaos. After she threw out her half-assed excuses, we went in circles for hours. I kept asking her to just tell me the truth. Every time she shifted, crying, yelling, accusing me of being controlling. At one point she even screamed, "Maybe if you weren't such a boring husband, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere." That one hit me like a sledgehammer. Not because it was true, but because it showed me how low she was willing to sink. She wanted me to feel guilty for her choices. When she realized I wasn't buying the tears, she stormed into the bedroom, slammed the door and locked it. I ended up sleeping on the couch, staring at the ceiling, feeling like my whole world had gone sideways. The next morning she acted like nothing happened. Made herself coffee, hummed a little tune, scrolled Instagram at the counter. When I tried to bring it up again, she snapped, "I already said I'm sorry, what more do you want? Do you want me to grovel? Get over it." That's when it really sunk in. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't even ashamed. She was just mad that I caught her. After that blow-up, I thought maybe she'd cool off and come clean. No. Instead, she doubled down on the lies. It became this twisted game where every day she'd rewrite the story just enough to make herself look less guilty. One day it was, "We only kissed, it never went further." The next day it was, "Okay, we slept together once, but I hated it." Then later, "It's not even physical, it's just emotional. You don't give me what I need." Every version contradicted the last. I'd point it out and she'd scream that I was obsessed and acting crazy. At one point she actually said, "You're making me into a cheater in your head. If you keep accusing me, you're going to push me into someone else's arms." Gaslighting 101. I started noticing more little things too. Her work events, that magically never had spouses invited. Her phone lighting up with texts at 2 a.m., and when I asked who it was, she'd snap, "Jesus, do you want me to send you a screenshot every time someone messages me?" The lies weren't even good. But she said them with such venom that I almost felt guilty for asking. Almost. At this point I was exhausted. My reality was being twisted daily. I knew she was cheating, but she was making me feel like I was insane for saying it out loud. The breaking point came on a Saturday night. She told me she was going out with the girls again. My gut screamed at me, so this time I decided to follow her. I waited about 10 minutes after she left, then drove my car down the block and parked. Sure enough, I saw her car at a bar, not some trendy girls' night spot, but a dive across town. I sat there for a few minutes, debating whether I was really about to do this. Finally I walked in, and there she was. Not with her girlfriends. With Jake. They were tucked into a booth, his hand on her thigh, laughing like they were in their own little bubble. The look on her face when she saw me was priceless. Her jaw literally dropped. Then she jumped up and hissed, "What the hell are you doing here?" Like I was the one out of line. Jake just sat there looking like he wanted to melt into the floor. He muttered something about needing air, and bolted out the back door. Coward. She dragged me outside, furious, hissing under her breath about how I was embarrassing her, how I was acting psycho. I asked her point blank, "Are you still going to tell me it's just flirting? That it's nothing?" And she snapped, "Fine, yes, I've been seeing him. But it's because you pushed me to it. You never make me feel special anymore." That was it. The mask slipped. The lies stopped. but only because she'd been cornered. I felt something inside me just break. The car ride home was silent, except for her muttering under her breath about how I had humiliated her in public. Like she was the victim. As soon as we walked in the door, she exploded. She accused me of stalking her, of spying, of being a controlling psycho. I just stood there staring at her numb. I couldn't even get words out. Finally I said, "You've been lying to me for months. You've been sleeping with another man. And you have the audacity to act like I'm the problem?" She threw her purse across the room and screamed, "You're damn right you're the problem. If you weren't so boring, if you actually paid attention to me, I wouldn't have had to find someone else." That word had set me off. I said, "You had to? No, you chose to. You chose to betray me in our home, in our bed." And then she said something I'll never forget, "You're lucky it was just Jake. I could have had way better if I wanted to." That was the dagger. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't remorseful. She was proud of how far she'd gotten away with it. I walked out of the room, shut the door behind me, and sat on the edge of the bed in the guest room. My marriage, my trust, everything I thought I knew about my life, shattered. The days after that fight were the darkest of my life. I'd wake up in the guest room, hear her moving around the house like nothing happened, and feel this wave of nausea. I couldn't eat, couldn't focus at work. My chest felt like it had a hole in it. She, on the other hand, acted like I was the one overreacting. She'd walk past me in the hallway and sigh dramatically, saying things like, "Are you still sulking? It's not that big of a deal." Or, "If you can't forgive me, maybe you're just not cut out for marriage." I started second-guessing myself. That's what happens when you're gaslit long enough. I kept asking, am I being too dramatic? Should I just let it go? But then I'd remember the photo in our bed or seeing her with him at the bar, and the anger would come rushing back. The hardest part was the loneliness. I couldn't tell my family yet, I was ashamed. I couldn't tell most of my friends because they all liked her and thought we were this perfect couple. So I carried it all alone, drowning in betrayal while she strutted around like nothing happened. It was hell. Pure hell. One night, after another screaming match where she told me I was pathetic for not just getting over it, I hit a wall. I was sitting in the guest room staring at the ceiling and I realized, this wasn't love anymore. This was torture. The woman I married, the woman I thought had my back, was gone. In her place was someone cruel, manipulative, and unapologetic. Every lie, every insult, every gaslight had chipped away at me until there was almost nothing left. So I made a decision. I pulled out my laptop and started looking up divorce lawyers. Just the act of typing divorce attorney near me gave me a weird sense of relief, like I was finally taking a step toward saving myself. The next morning, when she tossed another dig my way about how, no wonder Jake made me feel alive, I didn't snap back. I just looked at her and said, "I'm done." She froze. For the first time in months, she didn't have a snappy comeback. Just this blank stare, like she couldn't believe I'd actually said it. Then she scoffed, rolled her eyes, and muttered, "Yeah right, you'd never leave me." But she was wrong. That was the moment I knew I was leaving. The following week, I quietly met with a lawyer. We went over everything: house, finances, no kids thankfully. It was surreal sitting there, talking about dismantling the life I'd built for a decade, but at the same time I felt lighter than I had in months. When I finally told her I'd spoken to an attorney, she lost it. She went from laughing in my face to screaming, "You're ruining both our lives over one mistake." Then she switched gears and tried to play sweet, saying, "We can work through this. Don't throw everything away." I just stared at her. "You threw it away the moment you chose him over me." She didn't like that. She started threatening me about taking half the house, about how she'd make my life miserable if I went through with it. It was all venom, no remorse. That confirmed I was making the right move. I packed a bag that night and stayed at my brother's. For the first time in weeks, I actually slept. No yelling, no lies, no tension hanging in the air. Just silence. It wasn't peace yet, but it was the first step toward it. Once I moved out, the fog started to lift. I wasn't waking up every morning to her snide remarks or waiting for the next lie to drop. The silence that had felt heavy at first turned into clarity. She kept texting me, sometimes angry, sometimes sweet. One day it would be, "You'll regret this, no one else will want you." The next it would be, "I miss you, let's try again." But every message just reminded me how toxic things had become. My lawyer helped me start the paperwork. I focused on practical things: closing joint accounts, sorting out bills, finding my own place. Each task felt like peeling off another layer of poison she'd wrapped around me. The hardest part was grieving the woman I thought she was, the wife I thought I had. But once I accepted that she never really valued me the way I valued her, it got easier to let go. For the first time in months I felt free. It's been a few months since I walked away, and honestly I feel like I finally got my life back. Don't get me wrong, the pain is still there. Some nights I still hear her words echoing in my head. But with distance I can see things clearly. She didn't just cheat on me, she tried to destroy me from the inside out with lies, gaslighting, and cruelty. What I've learned: trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't let someone convince you you're crazy for seeing the truth right in front of you. And above all, don't waste your life on someone who doesn't respect you. I used to think leaving meant failing. Now I know staying in a toxic marriage would have been the real failure. Walking away wasn't weakness, it was survival. If anyone reading this is in a similar spot, here's my advice. Document everything. Don't fall for the fake tears or manipulations. Protect your sanity and your self-respect at all costs. Because once you choose yourself, you start to heal. And healing is worth more than holding on to someone who only knows how to break you.